Murdorf and the Mortal Flaw, Book 1, Chapter 31, Betrayal. It was mid-afternoon when the riders reached the castle of Seir. The door leapt off Orpah and hugged her father. The king was immediately puzzled that the army of immortals was not with them, and by the unfamiliar faces among the riders. Approaching the king, Windsor introduced Sagron and Amace. Greeting them kindly, the king took notice of Amace's peculiar appearance, but before he could comment, he noticed a familiar face and fell speechless for a moment. You look like Ormondale. In the flesh, my friend. Well, I thought you were dead. Well, I came close. We had your funeral, the king exclaimed. So I heard, laughed Ormondale. I wasn't able to make it. You look good, sire. I was shocked to learn that this is your daughter. Yes, the king agreed. A lot has changed since I last saw you. He hugged his daughter once again, as if still reassuring himself that she was indeed home, safe and sound. But tell me, where have you been all this time? The land of Shai Kadesh, Ormondale replied. Forgive me, my friend, for not letting you know I was alive and mostly well. I suppose I was in no hurry to leave that beautiful land. Well, I can't blame you there, said King Chess. He had heard tales, but he had never been there. Where's the army and the king? Well, they did not ride with us, answered Windsor. What? The king was stunned by the bit of news. He said he would catch up with us at a later date. Windsor was trying to smooth things over. If King Justice and his army doesn't come, Chess declared, then we're doomed to contend with this bloody sword. Why would he not come? You could have just flown to Shai Kadesh instead of gathering up warriors. Now what are we supposed to do? Well, he said he would catch up, Windsor affirmed. Ormondale was quick to respond. I have been with King Justice for such a long time now. Trust me, he will come. His voice was calming and most reassuring. Come, all of you must be exhausted. Let's go to the Hall of Defense and talk while the chefs make supper. As Navi entered the palace, the king couldn't help but notice his pink bow and his pink hair. He had tucked the pink hat away into the bag. Pink your new favorite color now, Navi? Funny, said Navi. The riders walked into the Hall of Defense. In the center of the room was a large round table. Images had been carved of knights in battle. The muted colors showed the age of this grand table. In the center of its surface was a carved map of the land of Shalahem, its grooves filled in with gold. The seats of the chairs looked like shields. 2 imitation iron swords crossed the iron frame to make the back of the chairs. Gilgore had to sit on the floor since his gigantic size swallowed up the chair. Well, King Justice knows best. Did King Justice say why he would not come? Asked King Chess. No, Windsor replied. He merely said that he would follow at a later time. Emotions were still high, but few spoke their minds, feeling it inappropriate to say much in front of King Chess about their lack of confidence in the immortal king. Are there any recent prophecies that speak of this? Asked the king. No. Ancient prophecies speak of a time when a great war, one like never before or since, impostors will arise. That's nothing new. It speaks of an immortal king who will resist its power. It warns that if the last immortal king fails, the human race will be hopelessly lost in a world ruled by Darvan. Windsor was restating what they all knew, but felt it right to do so, to remind them of what was at stake in this conflict. Now it was King Chess's turn to speak to the group. You have been summoned here to complete the mission, as has been prophesied. It is only fair that you know that this is the real sword. We alone know of its presence in this castle. He took the key from Windsor and unlocked the secret door hidden in the wall of the castle. The king pulled out the sword for all to see. As he laid it on the table, a sense of awe fell upon the room. Everyone sat speechless, gazing upon the spectacular sword. The light reflected from the rubies on its hilt and danced on the ceiling and the walls. Cosby got up from his chair and walked over to the sword. Touching it, he said, I don't get it. It's just a sword, like any other sword. Its tales are nothing more than that. Tales. Fabricated myths. Oh, I assure you that there's nothing fabricated about the evil influence of that sword, said Windsor. Picking it up, Cosby held it in his hand. Experiencing the power it generated, a tangible, electrifying power shot through him, making him feel invincible. He had been longing to touch it again since that rainy night. "Put it down," ordered Windsor. Cosby's eyes grew wild, radiating with excitement at the sensation of power. Windsor now stood with his hand on his sword. Demonza joined him, hand on his own blade. Suddenly, Cosby dropped the sword of power. Seated near where the sword had fallen, Nimri reached down to pick it up, curious at what Cosby had experienced. Experiencing its power, a feeling of invincibility and egomania arose within Nimri. Mace watched their reactions to the sword, and his heart fell faint at the thought of such responsibility. "Put the sword on the table," King Chess ordered, as Windsor and Gamanza remained standing with their swords. Nimri held it, amazed by what he felt. "Nimri, put it down," Windsor ordered. Boldar was now sitting beside Nimri, reaching over and took hold of the sword to force Nimri to put it onto the table. Immediately, the same power rang true, apprehending his mortal soul. He too felt mighty, self-important, and completely invincible. He was mesmerized by the sword. Finally, after a few seconds, but what seemed like forever, he heard his name being called, and he felt Nimri tug on the sword. Now they both reluctantly set the sword on the table. Mace watched carefully, curious about the power of the sword. "This is the sword that has caused kingdoms to fall," the king intoned to them all. "This is the sword that has caused once humble and noble kings to grasp power and become ruthless and cruel. This is the sword that has caused many once good men to seek to rule the entire world. It has caused brothers to kill brothers, fathers to kill sons, and sons to kill their own fathers. It has caused kings to rule ruthlessly, been the driving force behind wars, and diluted human souls into putting themselves on the same level as God. This is a sword that has caused us to lose our immortal states." The king picked up the sword, feeling its power. He showed no open emotion towards the cunningness of the sword. After locking back safely away, he handed the key back to Windsor, who secretly wished he hadn't. "The hour grows late. Let us eat and sleep, and in the morning we'll discuss what we should do. I have made arrangements for all of you to sleep here in the palace." This said and done, everyone ate supper and turned in for the night, except for one. During the night, while all were sound asleep, a figure walked softly down the halls of the castle. He entered Windsor's room. The old prophet was fast asleep. He rummaged through his satchel, retrieving the key. Then he quietly climbed the stairs. Seeing a guard at the door, he smiled and approached him. As he drew near the guard, he thrust his sword into him. The man fell dead. Swiping the key to the room from the guard, the man opened the door and slid the dead body into the room. Unlocking the security case that housed the sword, the man spied the cursed blade. His eyes grew wild as he stared at the sword. He touched the rubies and ran his hand across the handle and down the blade. He felt the sword grip his soul like a vice, stirring the latent sin within. He would have sold his soul to the devil if he had to, if it meant that he could have that sword. Mesmerized by the power of the sword, he continued to stroke it, pleased by how it made him feel. Strong, brave, important, indestructible. He whispered, "I doubted your power, but now I know." He grabbed the sword and took it to himself as peals of thunder resounded in the heaven. He walked out of the palace and mounted a black, high-spirited horse and fled the castle, riding fast and hard down the path. Riders of Quaidar were lurking in the forest, waiting for him. Their decaying hands were once partly hidden by the black hoods on their capes. Galloping along the outer rim of the castle property, his appetite whetted for power and his ego primed with lust to rule, he rode down the path, past the warriors of darkness. Holding the sword of power tight in his right hand, he waved it victoriously above his head. The riders of Quaidar rode out and joined him, following in behind, as he led the way, declaring himself the new possessor of the sword, called and chosen for the position. But he didn't go unnoticed. A set of eyes witnessed it all, and this one set out to follow him.